What up?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Good. Good, good. Let me get this turned up a little bit more here. Uh, here we go. How's your day?
It's good. It's good. It's a interview full day.
Oh, yuck.
A little bit, a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, periodically be self-medicating to keep it interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that's exhausting too. I mean, I talk to people all day, every day. It's exhausting.
It is, yeah. You kind of gotta stay in mode, you
Hmm.
know. So like, this is what I'm doing right now. This is where I'm at.
Right. This is my day and I just have to prepare for it. So, how many more do you have after this one?
I have one every hour, and the last one is at 5.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
Gross.
yeah, this is the most that I've done. Usually I start at 9. I had 2 prior to this too, so this is my third.
Oh my gosh. I feel
Yeah.
bad for that last person. That last person's you're gonna be like, look, I'm done.
We'll see. I'm also trying to be aware of where I'm at too, like seeing how I'm feeling after each and during. So yeah,
Yeah.
right now I'm good.
Well, that's good. Well, so I'm gonna ask you a question which I normally would ask later, but what do you do for self care? Because not only having to do all these interviews when an album is coming out, working on the album, the touring, all that kind of stuff is obviously there's um, a lot of energy that goes into to all parts of it for all different reasons. What do you do to kind of keep yourself from going insane?
um, it's pretty much I try to stay healthy. I try to eat healthy. I'm really conscious now at this point in my life how much I'm drinking. I don't really drink so much anymore. Uh, it's just the hangovers aren't worth it, and
That getting
um,
older stuff is for the birds.
it really is. I don't advise anyone to do it. Tour is different. Tour self care is much different than home self care. It's hard to not drink on tour because there's so much time, and it's almost like it's just you're with everybody and you want to hang out. So it's like that's different. But self care, I mean, self care is a big self love, self care, all that stuff. I mean, it's big for me. I mean, I try to get exercise. I try to do yoga. I'm an on and off meditator since I was like 14 years old. I read, I listen to, I love like Duncan Trussell is like a big, I don't know if anybody,
Oh,
if you know Duncan Trussell, like
yes.
Midnight Gospel, he
Oh,
just got like pretty famous off of that, but I've been following him and like that sort of comedic spirituality kind of thing.
mhm.
Love that kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, I mean, weed helps. Smoking
Right.
weed, smoking weed definitely can chill you out. But I don't really operate well with interviews smoking weed. If I'm smoking weed, I'm way too chill. But I'm also normally I'm pretty chill anyway. But if I'm smoking weed, it's like, whoa, this guy's like way too chill.
We need to engage in the conversation here.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for new ways to care for myself,
that's
so
good.
it's a never ending, it's also a creative endeavor too, because you can get
For
creative with
sure.
that too. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's interesting that you've been doing meditation since you were 14. There's such a like weird connotation when it comes to meditation that a lot of people think that it looks one way where it can look a million different ways. So as a 14-year-old, how did you decide that was something that you wanted to try and recognize that it wasn't what everybody thinks it is, you know?
Well, I think it just came from being young and having a little bit of interest into reading into world religions and just knowing what
Mhm.
meditation was. And I
Mhm.
got kind of into like Buddhism and things like that at a young age. My mom worked at a church, so I had like religious. I was raised religious and just aware of practices and disciplines and prayer and all that kind of stuff. And I was just kind of looking for my own kind of thing. And as a 14-year-old, all of a sudden, who do you know that meditates when you're 14? So it's like, this is something I can do that's different than what other people are doing.
Right.
And I actually ended up liking it. I ended up really liking it. And it became very apparent when I was young that, you know, meditation isn't, it's not what most people think. They think that it's like, you gotta be thinking you're going to go somewhere else, or like it's going to take you somewhere else. But in all reality, a meditation, you can meditate playing guitar. You're
Mhm.
just focusing on playing guitar. You
Mhm.
can meditate on, I actually think I heard this on a recent Duncan Trussell podcast. Someone was saying, I don't watch the news because you're basically meditating with whatever story is on.
All
So it's like if
right.
you're watching the news, you're focused on trying to learn and hear about this like news stuff. You're just receiving. So it's like
Mhm.
if you look at meditation as like receiving and just being in constant response to what is happening and kind of aware with what is happening, that's one form of meditation. But yeah, it's, you can exercise as meditation. You should be meditatively, you know exercising your, what muscle are you working on, think
Right.
about that muscle, or that, your heart, you're jogging, listen to your heart, you
Right.
know uh, so yeah, I mean, but it's also hard to meditate every day. It's like it's like the hardest thing. It's weird because it's like you're doing nothing, but it's like you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna go do nothing for 15 minutes, and like, who the fuck wants to do that?
Oh my gosh, that's oh my you explained all of that so perfectly, and it's so funny. I'll do the same thing. I don't have time for meditation, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, you have 5 minutes. That's
Right?
ridiculous that you're saying that you don't have time."
Totally.
But even just listening to music, you can, have a really meditative experience with music, which is my favorite way of experiencing music.
Big time, big time. Yeah, especially the first time if you're like really hyped to listen to new music, damn, you're 100% meditated with that. You're like one with that music.
Mhm. That's one of my favorite things about doing this. I just do this on the side. I'm a mental health therapist outside of this, a mindfulness one
Mm.
actually. So
Oh wow.
meditation is something I talk about a lot. And that's one of the things that I'll tell people that I'll say, I want you to meditate, and I just see like a glazed look come over their eyes, like okay, they've checked completely out. So then I'll bring music into the conversation. You can do it with music. You don't have to sit in silence. None of us can do that anymore. We live in a way too fast pace of a world to be able to silence our minds.
Oh my God. I know. It's, yeah, it's totally crazy. I am a self-care practice of mine is like, I make sure that I don't lose track of my breath, or like if I find myself that I'm stressed out or like I'm overthinking something, I'm like, am I even aware that I'm breathing right now? Like if you're not aware that you're breathing, you're kind of disconnected from yourself. Like
For
the
sure.
very basic fundamental, you aren't controlling it. It's happening, but you do have control of it. So it's like if you're, I still find myself holding my breath every once in a while,
Hmm.
or on stage, as far as like physicality of playing guitar, I know that I need to be relaxed, and to play the more difficult things, I need to be relaxed. I can't tense up. I can't hold my breath. I need to be 100% intentional, present with it. And yeah, the first thing you notice if you're fucking up on guitar, you're probably holding your breath and you're probably tense.
Right. Oh,
And
that's
think about that with
interesting.
life. Think of it with life,
Right.
and everything. I think it applies to everything.
No, I agree. And that's such a, like you said, such a basic thing, like bringing it back to something that is so simple, but is so huge to like function,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
especially in the chaotic world that we've had for the past, you know, gosh, it feels like forever now, but for the last while.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but the album comes out Friday already.
I know.
It probably feels like not already for you. It probably feels like this has been like a super slow process as it usually is. But I want to talk about the title because the title is also a Latin saying, and you within the album cover have some Latin words in there as well. I've looked up the meaning. Well, memento mori, obviously, a lot of us already know, but tell me why you decided to go that route. And I also noticed a lot of the memento mori symbolism within the album artwork. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly just happened super organically, and there was kind of a point where I was reading Latin phrases about death and politics and life, and just reading these things and then finding their translation, translating them to English, and then even further translating them into like other languages, and then translating that into English, and just like messing with the way that you could morph the words, because Latin's just super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was pretty much kind of lining up with, us. We're not old, but we're not young anymore. And all of this stuff was really relatable. And um, it really just became this kind of running theme of that, memento mori. We didn't want to use that. Obviously, Lamb of God has used that before, and we couldn't go there. And we're like, well, let's try to figure out the coolest way and most like powerful way to say like remember death, like remember
Mhm.
you must die, like that. It's 100% true. It is an insane thing that people there. It's like a miracle of sorts that like some people don't even really on a real level believe they're going to die.
Mhm.
And you have to know that you have to believe that you're going to die to know that you're going to die, which is
Mhm.
crazy. And and it's probably why humans can even exist the way we can, because most of us don't believe we're going to die, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a running theme in our music and
Mhm.
with our lyrics is mortality.
Mhm.
And and where we are now in our and at this point in our life, remember you must die is we said it too. It's really more of like it's a mature way of like, we said you only live once, so go fucking nuts. But like this is like remember, like you're gonna die. Like remember
Right.
this is gonna come to an end. So it's kind of a subconscious. The music in this album I feel like is coming from a place of, maybe it's not the last music we're ever going to make, but write it like it's the last music you're ever going to make, kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot more depth to it, and then it's a lot of people really struggle with aging, and and I get it, but also, I just turned 40 last year, and that for some reason is a big number for people, and for me, I'm like, not everybody gets to be 40.
Totally.
So I'm just thankful, that this is an age that I get to see, and I look forward to the future ages because of that, and because that there is going to be an end, but appreciating the moments that you do have. So there's a lot of depth to just that itself. Plus, living as opposed to existing. So many people just walk around existing, and really living moment to moment, like that it could be your last.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think that, that what you said, people are just living and or just existing and not really living. It's I think this creatively, like writing this music too, that kind of was where we were with this. It's like not just making something that, of course, we know that our fans want us to sound like we did in 2007 to
Mhm.
2011. They want us to sound like the first three records, but like how is it, and how can we, put something out that pushes that energy that we had then, that makes people feel like they're listening to us 15 years ago, but it still has something fresh to it.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like, for us, it's us, living and not just existing. It's like we're still able to give someone a nostalgic feeling, but we're also still pushing ourselves creatively and artistically. So, and that was definitely a challenge on this, but I just feel like somehow we were all really feeling the same way and wanting the same thing when we were writing this. And we haven't, I don't think it's been that way in a really long time.
Mhm.
I can't say that for certain because that's obviously like energetic kind of stuff, but I really feel like that's why when people are listening to this, they say it sounds like you guys in 2008 or something like that. I'm like, I listen to it. I'm like, I don't hear that. This sounds like new to
Right.
me. But I think that it's that energy that we put into it. We were all on the same page back then, and now we're all on the same page again. And it just hasn't happened like this in a while. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's pure like alchemic magic happening.
Do you have any insight as to why now it has come kind of that full circle moment, or is it just how it was?
I think it would be really fair to say that Ernie, our new drummer, is a big reason for that. And that's not to discredit Alex by any means. It just means that getting a new drummer who's hot to be in a band that he likes, is a fan of, knows the history of, knows the scene really well. I think having him be a part of the writing process, it was almost there's like affirmation and validation happening with him, you know, listening to something that if Garza comes up with something, he's like, that's sick. Or if I come up with something that's sick, you have this person that's kind of allowing you to be you. He was instrumental. It was big, and it was almost like writing with someone that you've written a bunch of music with before. Uh, and then also there was times where it's like, oh, now I know that I can almost utilize you in ways that I've never been able to with this instrument, that, you know, the drums, like you have this ability to do these kind of new things. And all of us, you know, me, Garza, and Dan, the strings and main music writers of the band, we all knew we were on this page of, we can push Ernie real hard and he can push back. And there was just this kind of youthful
Yeah.
energy that was happening because he's young in the band. So
Yeah.
big time Ernie for sure, you know. And he's obviously and not to say that we aren't stoked about this record, but it's also cool to see how stoked he is to put this album out. So that's,
Right.
there is a lot of different new energy in the band, so it's really cool.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, you guys are like, yeah, this is just what we do. Okay, so next, all right, then let's see how what we do with this one. And he's like, this is a big deal. Oh yeah, this is a big deal.
Totally. Yeah. It kind of, you get reminded and kind of, you know, you get put in check every once in a while, and it's very easy to become jaded, very, very easy. And like the
Sure.
easiest way I can say, if people say like, or people hear that and they don't understand, but it's like, you know, how many times can you be excited to go to Italy when you've been there, you know, 10 times or 15 times and you're going back over and over? It's like people, oh, you must be excited to go to Europe, or, you know, go tour in Europe. It's like, well, not in the wintertime, you know. You know, it's like you have your jaded reaction to that, you know. And you can definitely become jaded in your creative process, because it's like, if your fans want you to sound the way you sounded 15 years ago, where's the room for creativity and where's the room for growth? So you can become like, oh, well, all right, let's back to this. So it's cool. And this record is, yeah, this is a special one. It's I don't really know. It's been difficult to fully put it into words, because it really, I think, is beyond just creative artistic expression. I
Mhm.
feel like there was a lot of just people wanted to bring heat and were on fire and in a good place to do it. And oddly enough, the pandemic helped with that,
Mhm.
allowing us to kind of get some space away
Mhm.
from each other, first of
Mhm.
all, and write alone, and then bring ideas to the band room, and be well equipped and inspired. And dude, how could you not have gotten inspired, whether from everything that's happened,
Yeah.
whether or not it was in a, I mean, I guess it all works out positively, but there was a lot to live through, so there's a lot to express. So, and I think that
Yeah.
that's not just for us, for, you know, all
Absolutely.
of music and all of art and all of movies and everything, books, anything. So um yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting next couple of years here, all of this stuff coming out, and then also people kind of seeing where we land after all of this, you know,
Yeah.
as far as the creatives go.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with all that. So with going from I have like 5 different questions I want to ask you within just that part. But with going from touring a lot to, you know, Full Stop, because you guys had a tour planned, if I remember correctly, right before everything shut down. So coming to Full Stop, being able to have that room to breathe and being able to have that creative room, which is so important, and that a lot of bands definitely did take advantage of. But how was it? Like for me, you know, not being not having that lifestyle, the first part of it as an introvert, I was stoked. I was like, oh good, I don't have to be around people. But
Me
then I
too,
got to
same.
a right. And
Yeah.
then but then when everything started opening back up again, for me it was hard to get back out there. How was it for you being like shoved back into the spotlight? Was it hard to make that adjustment, or were you like ready at that point?
um it's weird, because I feel like I naturally seem at home in like the touring environment and all that, but it's kind of just, it's honestly not the truth. You know, I fit in that little space in my life, and I fit there well. But you know, in my head, it's always something different. And I that first tour that we did back was very difficult. It was like being well, I'll take it back even further to the first show that I went to when everything opened up, which Black Dahlia and Carnifex and After the Burial
Mm,
and Rivers of Nil and Undeath. They played in
wow.
San Diego, and it was one of the first tours that was it was like the Up from the Sewer tour or whatever. It was also the last time I saw Trevor, Black
Mhm.
Dahlia, rest in peace. And I remember being stoked, and I was like, I want to see Undeath. I like this band, and going into the venue, and they said you had to wear a mask. You didn't have to wear a mask. And I'm like, I'm going to go in. And I went to the front of house like I normally would to go listen. And I realized as soon as the pit broke out, I'm like, wow, I'm surrounded by people. I've not been surrounded by people in over a year and a half, 2 years maybe. And I immediately was like, whoa, like I didn't feel comfortable. And I kind of got weirded out. Um, so I kind of knew and expected because of that. Once I went out on tour, I'm like, this is going to be a lot to kind of to figure out. Um, and yeah, that I would say I warmed up quickly, but it also reminded me that um, touring and being it's you have to be so comfortable in yourself
Uh,
and be and have your feet planted on the ground and know where you're at. And I think that one thing that we always say, because touring is not always easy, and people got shit going on at home, people got shit just going on.
mhm.
um we're the way that we always keep it is just like we're out here for that hour we're on stage, or that hour and a half, or that half hour, whatever tour we're on. We're out here for that. So it's like everything. I remember that first tour, it was preservation, uh to allow myself to bring what I know I can do on stage and deliver this show. So you're always like you're living your day to bring that. And yeah, it was a crazy reminder after not doing it for so long, and all of that definitely took a lot out of us. We did that
Yeah.
Ginger tour. We're on tour with Ginger, and they're wild, man. Like that you know, Eastern European, Ukrainian, like they're there to work. And like
Mhm.
that was a almost 2 month tour straight. It was like I think it was 49 shows or something like that. And we don't tour like that. We want to tour for a month and go
Right.
home. So
Right.
a month in, you're like, shit, I got almost another month of this. Like we're self-care. Let's go. Like I need a hot shower. I need to chill by myself for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't
So
really get a whole lot of that alone time when you're on tour.
no, none. Basically,
Yeah.
you're lucky to, you know, you have, that's, you know, to back to your first question, you know, you have to uh find that time and commit to that time and be like, all right, I'm gonna go on a walk, you know, or I'm gonna go to this park over here, and you know, anyone want to go throw a frisbee, you know, like uh,
Right.
so um but yeah, I think also because of the pandemic and because of everything going back and being able to be social and going back out there, you have a crazy blend of people that really did kind of enjoy a little bit of alone time, and then those people that really do not do when they're alone. So then you
Mhm.
get out into a space where you're on tour with like 50 people, and you pretty much, you can say it's 50-50. Half of them want
Yeah.
to be social all the time, and half of them are needing to get some time away. And it's a crazy, you know, meeting of all of that and observing all of that. And the people that really needed it, they're I feel like there's an overcompensation of like, I need it as much as I can. And then it's same for the other side. You got all that alone time. You're like, oh, now I know I need it even more. Um,
Right.
so it's cool. I mean, it's just it's another thing to learn from and be and to grow off of. And and it's cool that it's becoming more normal in society, especially the sex, drugs, and rock and roll aspect of touring and all of that has, it's still there, but it's just not as cool as it once was.
Right. It's
And
not the 80s anymore.
yeah, it's not. So it's almost like the people that you know you end up to learning to respect more or becoming close with is like, oh, you have protocols, and you have what you're doing, and you have this figured out a little bit. and that goes all the way up to fucking David Lee Roth, you know? So
Right.
it doesn't matter what level you're at. Everyone's figuring it out and knowing trying to figure out what they're doing and how to stay sane and also stay creative.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a weird thing to try to balance.
The weirdest.
Yeah.
It's
Creativity is supposed to be insane, not sane.
100%. And that's like the idea of, if I'm feeling happy and I'm feeling content and I'm being healthy and I'm balanced, am I not able to,
Mm,
especially with like Suicide Silence, it's like this brutal, violent kind of music, which it's really wild. And the only way that I can even rationalize it is that, yeah, like there is a part of all of us that has that kind of, I would say, violent, brutal, aggressive, but we aren't those people in real life,
mhm.
but we need to get that out through this. And it's almost like, not every super cynical comedian that's saying the most outlandish, getting a reaction joke, not all of them maybe even feel what they're saying is true, but they know that this is going to work.
Mhm.
They're formulating a joke like we formulate a riff, you know?
Right?
Um, and yeah, the idea of if I'm happy and I'm in alignment with my life, am I able to do all of that stuff the same way that people expect me to? And that's that learning process that
Yeah.
we'll all always be on, that I'm on still. If I'm 100% abstaining from alcohol, am I able to be myself on tour? That,
Right.
like those kinds of things. Um, which those are tough, man. Super
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Always trying to, yeah, do that kind of self-reflection and make those little tweaks here and there, in order to make it work and function. So with the you brought in comedians, so I'm going to bring in the comedy aspect of the band, which you guys obviously have and have shown throughout the years. These videos are so incredible. Um, I want to start with "You Must Die" because that is such a poignant like video, and what you've already said. This you guys are kind of all about, and this album's all about. You guys, get old and take a little nappy nap by the end of it. And tell me about that video, and if we have time, I know that I don't want to take a bunch of your time, but if we have time, a little bit about the other two as well.
Yeah. Well, that video, um, it almost, the concept just came right from what it is. It's like, why don't we make a video where we're just continuously getting older and die? It's super simple.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make it even funnier and make it more stupid than it was, but we didn't do it. We wanted to make Dan Kenny like Benjamin Button and have him start old and turn into a
Uh,
baby. But we thought that would just be too much and it would just confuse people. um, but that's pretty much with our music videos. That's where our heads are at, is like, what's okay, let's think of like something that is insane or something that works, and then let's like dissect it and see how weird we can make it. Pretty much every idea, all the videos that have any sort of concept like that we've done, like those are our ideas. Those are things that we come up with, that it's just like, that would be fun. The YOLO video, um and yeah, we're just always kind of chasing the, also Foo, I always say it, Foo Fighters, Learn to Fly. Like, I know we're both
yeah,
old enough to remember that video was life
so
changing. And
good.
like even the videos that were uh really not supposed to be funny, like Tonight Smashing Pumpkins, that video was so cool, and but also had these really funny kind of things. It was just like, so I've always tried to come up with concepts in music videos that it's almost distracting from the song. Like the video is
Mm,
so good that the
mm.
song you're
It's almost
hearing it.
secondary.
It's a good soundtrack to the video,
Right.
but you're like, wow, that video was so good. I need to watch it again to listen to the song because I was watching the video. Um,
Right.
and that's how I feel like when I was watching videos when I was a kid. I was watching the videos so much that it was like, you could put the CD on and then you're listening to the song. You're like, wow, I never really heard the song like this before. Like, this is a way
Right.
different song now.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, it just makes it more fun. It's another way to try to kind of uh, create more out of the base of the song. Like you've
Yeah.
already done the song. Like, what else can come from this one idea? And yeah, the other videos, a similar
Altar of
thing.
Self is so great.
Oh, yeah. Altar of Self is funny, and that's, it's again, it kind of wrote itself too, because the songs, lyrics, it's basically under a microscope people that are using psychedelics and letting it inflate their ego instead of to be friends with their ego. I won't say ego loss. That's a whole other norms, but
You're like, I
um
ain't got time for that.
yeah, yeah. uh but yeah, so the idea was like, oh, you can't find the venue, like use these psychedelics to find your way to the get to the show. um that was a fun one. And yeah, Capable of Violence was, we were filming Thinking in Tongues, that video, and we were on set already, and that was the first time we worked with Vicente, who has done all of these videos: Thinking in Tongues, Remember You Must Die, Capable of Violence, Alter Yourself. He's awesome. His crew is awesome. um we let him have the reins on that. We were like, you take the Thinking in Tongues video, it's the first video we've done with them, you do what you want, we'll see what you can do. And it ended up being so sick, and we knew we were on set, we're like, this guy's rad. We started thinking of more ideas that we could do for videos. We were recording at that time, this record, Remember You Must Die, and we hadn't even really written Capable of Violence yet, but we came up with the idea of, let's make a video where we just kill a bunch of people. And we thought it would be fun. We were like, oh, we can make it campy as fuck and just like have it be funny, but like still gory and metal. And uh and of course it's super hokey, there's no doubt about it. It's hokey and cheesy, but like, but that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because once we were in the studio and we're like writing and working things out, we're like, oh, Capable of Violence, like, oh shit, this could be that kill count video we were talking about. We could just kill people in this video. So it kind of bridged perfectly. And I love that video. That's so, and
It's so much fun.
I wish it wasn't NSFW, because now it's like you have to sign into YouTube. So if you go and look at our streams on YouTube for that video, it's like
Oh,
it's been viewed maybe a third as much as any of our other recent
really?
stuff. Yeah, because people don't want to sign in to watch it. Or if they see it's not safe for work, they're like, oh God, I don't want to see something that's like, maybe people are sensitive to gore or whatever.
Right.
Or just they don't want to watch not safe for work. Then who knows what we're doing in that video.
Right.
I'll not click on not safe for work shit on Reddit all the time, because I'm like, oh God, are they going to hurt an animal, or something going to break their leg or
Right.
some shit? And I
Right.
don't want to see that and not be expecting it. um
Yeah. I
but
didn't realize that you had to do. I'm always signed into YouTube, so I didn't even realize that that was something that you had to do to watch it.
yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, and dude, I have a notepad in my phone of music video ideas, just like endless. Like there's so many, dude. There's so many. Wait till
You
we do the
guys are
Royal.
so great at them.
Wait for the Royal Rumble video. I want to do a WWE, WWF. Like, you know what a Royal Rumble is?
Oh
Where we
yeah.
throw everybody out. Yeah. I want to do a video where, like, yeah, we're in the Royal Rumble, but like not everybody's in yet, and it's like counting down. It's like, who's coming out next?
Oh my gosh. Well, I definitely look forward to that. I hope you guys are able to do that. That's so
Oh,
much
it's
fun.
happening. It's happening for sure.
Oh, good, good, good. Last question. You mentioned that you are a book reader. What are some of your favorites, or something that has lasted with you a lot, or really you identified with a lot, either one or both?
Um, well, recently I just binged Dune. I had never read
Oh,
Dune
I've heard
before.
those are good.
And oh my God, the first book is so good. And it's weird. The second book was like, I guess, one of the worst received sequels ever in book history. And I
Wow.
didn't know that until afterwards. Like I read it and I even thought, like, this is too political. This is too focused on relationships and all this stuff. And it wasn't that good. But then once I realized that people hated it, and I started dissecting it in my head, and I'm like, actually, that was a good book. The ending was good. Like everything was good. But yeah, I don't know. Dune. Oh man. And if you like sci-fi, you like Star Wars, it's
Yes.
so much better than Star Wars. Like, holy shit.
Is that
It's
a
like
thing? That's a possibility?
I know. Okay, so get the Audible version of it, and it's
Okay.
it's like it's almost like listening to the theatric play. There's different voices for
Oh,
everybody in the book.
fun.
Almost. It misses a step here and there, but it's still awesome. But favorite books. I read weird books. I have the Tao Te Ching sitting right here. I keep this next to me all the time. All the time. It's an old. If you don't know the Tao Te Ching, it's old Chinese philosophy. It's really interesting
Oh,
stuff.
oh, interesting.
Wherever you go, there you are is the name of it by John Kabat-Zinn. Is a meditation book that I
Mm-hmm.
love. It's the most simple explanation of meditation. Um, what else would I does needs to be mentioned? What have I read numerous times? I mean, Lord of the Rings, dude.
So
If you
good.
haven't read Lord of the Rings and you don't know Tom Bombadil, like,
Oh, he's the best.
you know,
He's the best. I was
yeah,
so bummed that they kept him out of the movies because he was my favorite.
he was my favorite too because he sang songs, but
Yes.
I also do, and I know I think it was Peter Jackson that said it that he's like, well, there was just no way we could put Tom Bombadil in it and have him sing and have it make sense to the like the way the whole movie was. It would have thrown the
Oh,
whole thing off. But see,
yeah.
this is what I'm curious about Dune too, though, because Dune there's songs all through it, and I'm like, are they gonna have music? Are they is
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
are they
because
gonna
it's
sing in it?
already pretty serious and I don't know if dark's the right word, but it's already pretty seriously done so far, outside of the original, obviously.
Oh
But the
yeah,
new
yeah.
one. Hmm. So either sci-fi or philosophical ones seems like the ones that you're more into.
Yeah, yeah. I get on on like the self help kick every once in a while too, and
Mm-hmm.
find like an author that I'll go down. I even read health books. I mean, I like Mark Hyman. What's that book called? Is it called Broken Brain? What is it? That's what he keeps saying in it. Or, what the fuck is it? What the hell is that book called? Mark Hyman has a book about uh, uh, toxic everything being toxic. It's almost it.
Oh.
I almost don't advise people to read it because it'll freak you out and make you think you need to just change everything. But that book is he's even though he's like Oprah, Dr. Oz, famous doctor kind of guy, like his books are really really good. Um,
I'll have to check it out.
I feel like I'm on the spot and I can't think of
That's how it happens.
anything.
Have you
Yeah,
read Siddhartha before since you kind of went down the Buddhism?
that's so funny. That was the first book because when we first started touring, there was no iPhone, so
Mhm,
you needed to bring books on tour. Or you needed to
mhm.
figure something out that you were going to do. Siddhartha was the one of the books I brought on the very first tour I ever went on,
So
and
good.
I read it for the first time. My Jewish friend gave it to me when I was 15 years old, and he was like, "Yeah, I think you'd like this book." And yeah, loved it. Thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it's
And
a quick one too. I just encouraged my son to read it because he's been wanting to read *Sapiens*.
mm,
No idea why. Like I love that he's wanting to read it, but I was like, where in the world did that come from? And it had to do with something that had to do with. I haven't read *Sapiens* yet. It's on my list, but it had to do with something with the Buddhist aspect. And I was like, well, read Siddhartha first. That's a quick read.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it's super. Born in the palace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
So much metaphors there.
totally, totally. I love that kind of stuff. It's not for everybody though, that's for sure. Some people are
Yeah.
afraid of those
It's for
types
the
of books.
livers, not existers.
Hey, there you go. I
Have
like
you
that.
read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho?
Uh, I know my mom has read it yeah, she loved it,
It's really
and
good.
yeah, I have it, and I think maybe I started it and didn't finish it or something. I
It
should.
starts slow. It
Yeah,
starts slow, but you would probably like it since you like that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a
Um,
good journey book with a lot of insight.
yeah, yeah. I should check it out.
Yeah, cool. Well, I know you got a long day ahead of you. I want you to be able to get a break before your next one. I so appreciate you taking this time. This has been so much fun chatting with you. I don't get to
Absolutely.
have these deeper conversations very often, so I really appreciate you having that, I guess, personality to where I get to do it.
It yeah, I think that it's a fault of mine, and it's also a character a positive thing is that I definitely if I'm doing an interview, it's you're talking to me. I don't
Mhm.
not trying to be somebody else.
That's good. That's good. I mean, it makes it easier to flow too. I don't like choppy interviews, and so I really try to make it comfortable and flowy. And you know, some people you can tell that are more like just want to get to the point, and I totally understand that. And other people, yeah, are just kind of feel a little bit more comfortable and free to just be able to discuss whatever. So
Totally. And
yeah.
I will also, for people that liked this interview, um, I also did an interview with Ryan Downey on his podcast. It's called No Prize from God. And it's
Okay.
all about Ryan Downey has worked for AP. He just interviewed Tom Morello for Spin Magazine. He used to manage bands, still I think manages some people, but uh, he has multiple podcasts. One is about Metallica only. It's called Seek and Destroy, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
fun.
but he has. I just learned this too. He asked me to do his podcast, and it was all about beliefs and non-beliefs. And
Oh.
I didn't know I was about to do that podcast till 15 minutes before. I was like, you know what? Let me
Oh,
look at what I'm about to
geez.
do. I'm like, let me see what I'm doing. Uh,
Oh,
he's super cool. Two totally different people talking about this kind of stuff. He's a straight edge hardcore kid, and I'm like a dude that's smoked weed and done psychedelics forever. That has a whole other. I live in a whole other plane of existence. So it was fun to talk.
that's
So
awesome. We'll definitely have to check it out. Yeah, it sounds definitely up my alley. And I did want to dig into psychedelics as well, but again, I self-care is very, very important. And with you having such a busy day, we'll just have to schedule another time when you have less time constraints and more energy.
absolutely, anytime. Yeah, that's a long conversation that I don't have it figured out either. So
Yeah, well, I don't think they're starting to introduce it into mental health with microdosing and stuff, and so it's definitely a very interesting and important topic.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I'll what I will say about that though is I don't think it's for everybody. I feel like
yeah,
if you're called to it or curious about it, then I think that that's for you. But if you have any sort of trepidation towards that sort of thing, I would probably not.
yep, yep. I'm a super paranoid person, so I've known throughout my
Yeah,
life that it's probably not for me. But I still know that there's a lot of very important and I wish I wasn't so paranoid because I feel like I would get a lot of internal work and insight from it.
yeah, yeah. It's tough, and you never really know. I mean, that right there sounds like curiosity, though. So it sounds like that's something to possibly answer to.
I think my brain would be so freaked out about having a bad trip that I would almost like manipulate it to become that because I'd be so paranoid about it.
From total experience, I feel like that's true, and I also think that um the bad trip shouldn't be necessarily feared because it's
Mm,
like that's kind of what you want,
mm,
because no matter what, you usually, I mean, it's as simple as you learn from the hard things in your life the most. You
right.
don't learn from the easy stuff. So it's the same with that. It's
That
like you
is a very interesting spin on that I've never thought about.
yeah, it's kind of if you're able to surrender to the bad experience, that is the skill and discipline that people need to learn. And I feel like also, if you are going to dive into doing psychedelics, you should probably commit to not just doing it once, doing whatever you're going to do once, like make time in your life to do it multiple times. And even as scary as that may sound, because the first time you do anything, you're going to be really confused and not have
Right.
any sort of there's no training wheels for a psychedelic
Right.
experience,
Right.
but there is protocols and practices and things that you can kind of learn to do that are able to make it so that whatever it is that you're trying to work through, like you're putting yourself in the position for it to actually work its way out. And
Right.
and I guarantee you'll learn something insane the first time you do it, but you'll make way more progress if you stick with any some sort of regimen to do it.
Right. No, that
once
makes
a
sense.
month, maybe even commit to a whole weekend. I'm going to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to do something and I'm going to do it. You got to do it intentionally. No recreational
Yeah.
psychedelic use. Like you got to have a reason what you're doing it for, even if that's just to be like, I want to learn something I don't know I need to learn, or I need to, even if it's as simple as that. Um, you have to have a reason to be doing it, and don't go in willy nilly.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. That's a very interesting perspective on it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I could talk to you all day. I really enjoy your mind. It's a very you have a very interesting mind, and I think we have a lot of the same, views on things. And so I could talk to you all day, but I'm not going to because I don't want to take everybody else's time away from them. I do, but I'm not going to.
Well, cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
this was enjoyable. Thanks for having me. And next time we'll just talk about psychedelics.
All right. We'll book a whole hour for it.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, you too.
Mhm. Bye.